Commencing Operation Compensation, as in what is Tarn compensating with those two large fusion cannons when one could easily outmatch the majority of bots on the battlefield. I mean, Megatron only needs one and sometimes doesn't even need to use it for most scenarios. Wait, this is beginning to sound like it can mean something else. Quickly, let's tune into the podcast before someone draws some fan art.
Hello, and welcome to the podcast where we are currently recapping the events of Transformers IDW 2005 Continuity. I'm Onyx Prime with my two co-hosts here.
Hi, I'm Computron.
Hi, I'm Kilobyte.
Moving on with our comic book discussion for today's episode takes us to IDW More Messiah Volume 10. And as always, spoiler warning. So if you haven't read it already, we highly recommend you go back, read it, then come listen to the podcast. Now onwards. Both Computron and myself have read this series already, but this is Kilobyte's first time, and we are excited to hear his thoughts about this series. But before we can dive into that, two things. We have a current art raffle that's going on. Go check it out on our Twitter to find out how you can enter. But, Computron, on with the comics. Can you tell us some fun facts and some trivia?
Yeah, time for the hard stuff and then the fun stuff. There's a total of 6 issues for this release. Issue 50 was released on February 24th, 2016, and the last issue for the entire series, number 55, was released July 27th, 2016. The writer was John Barber and James Roberts, and artists, we have pencils by Alex Milne, Hayato Sakamoto, and colors by Joanna Lafuente. In issue 51, Dying of the Light, as with the previous chapter, this issue's title and the title of the multi-parter itself is taken from the poem Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night by Dylan Thomas. Prior to issue 53, we look all the way back in issue number 14. Prowl indicated there was a dark secret in Chromedome's past that he wouldn't want Rewind to know about. This secret would never be revealed in the comic, but at TFCon USA 2018, James Roberts explained that originally he had envisioned that Chromedome was complicit in Dominus Ambus's disappearance, having helped Prowl place Dominus undercover as Agent 113, presumably through some judicious application Nemo surgery.
That would have been spicy.
We're not done here. Specifically, Chromedome would have also performed Nemo surgery on Rewind so that he would be unaware of Dominus's fate and the circumstances leading up to it. This would mean that the pair would have met prior to number 12's flashback, and that Chromedome had to keep this from Rewind throughout their entire relationship. Roberts explained that he discarded the idea because he didn't want to make another romantic couple suffer in his stories, and explicitly deemed it non-canon.
That's rough.
Wolf.
In issue 54, on the left side background on page 14, in the big crowd of Decepticons, you can just see a dead Ringer Evangelion Unit 01.
What, there's one? I didn't see it.
Yeah, we'll see it. Well, the viewers will see it on YouTube.
In issue 55, when Megatron flips the medbay table following Ravage's death, the layout of the panel is homage to Prowl's famous table flip scene from issue number 1.
He did the thing.
They did the thing.
Should we add this to Prowl's counter or
No,
do we
that's not Prowl.
Couple more here. Megatron says that the DJD will die by their birth names, but Glitch isn't Tarn's birth name. In issue number 11, it made it clear that it was an alias, and in issue 36 revealed his real name was Damus. Roberts acknowledged this in earlier drafts of the script, but removed it as it killed the moment.
Could you imagine?
Helix and Tesser's real name have been swapped. The former, with his internal smelting chamber, is Crucible, while the latter, who had a multi-bladed rotor grinder in his chest, is Scissor Saw. But they're interchanged between the panels of the character's death. This is corrected in the trade paperback.
Nice.
Oh, that makes more sense now.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Whew, that was a mouthful. But, Mr. Kilobyte, do you mind giving us a short summary of these comics?
Will do. A mutiny in the ranks spells doom for Megatron and his closest allies. Didn't know he had allies with the Autobots, but Rodimus and his stranded comrades weigh their options as the DJD closes in. Megatron versus Tarn, a new challenger appears. That was a fun one. In the final hours before the sun sets, Rewind and Chrome Dome finally solve the mystery of Dominus Ambus. Throughout the sacrifice of one of their comrades, the Autobots are given the means to fight back, and Megatron takes up arms once more. And finally, Megatron versus the DJD for all the marbles. That's so good. And as always, this information has been taken from the wiki.
Fantastic. Are you two ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
Oh, yeah.
Super ready.
So we open up with a goodbye video of the Lost Light. What are your thoughts on this? I would like to point out what Optimus says in this video, though, to contact the Lost Light, and Jetfire says there's no response. They're not responding. And Optimus says those are two different things. I want to put a pin on that for later. But what is your thoughts on this scene?
I thought it was sad, but I do find it funny on how Whirl was like, yeah, I don't want a funeral. I think he was like the only one.
Yeah, he was kind of sad. Yeah. I went like, here we go again.
Here we go again.
Are we gonna go into two different timelines again or what? But I was ready. I was ready for it.
Always trauma. Anyway, we flip to 3 weeks earlier because that video showed up 3 weeks late. So let's find out what really happened. We have the Lost Light crew fighting what's called Rust Giants. But then there's a gianter one. Gianter one? Sure. I thought the whole scene was hilarious because Rodimus is like, these creatures are called Rust Giants. What does that make you?
Yeah, that was pretty funny. I do like Tailgate's kind of reference to Captain Falcon, and he goes like Power Punch instead of Falcon Punch.
Oh, yeah.
What does feel weird and something entirely new is Megatron saying Autobots roll out. Feels a little weird, right?
It does, but I like the conversation between Rodimus and Megatron about it because he's like, "Do you want to do it? Do you? I can let you do it."
I like that we get to see like Ultra Magnus and Thunderclash kind of fighting behind, side by side, and then Megatron's like, "You two spread out." Like, there's just too much.
Too much firepower in one spot.
Yeah.
Well, that is done and said. I do like how Megatron is in charge of educating some of the Lost Lighters. And my poor boy, Riptide, he puts in a lot of work, but still doesn't pass his classes.
He was like, we'll talk about it after class.
You did great, but you didn't pass.
And I think the only one who actually passed the entire thing was a Hound, I believe. Like,
yeah,
because like Hound was just sitting there, and he's like, "Well, Hound hit the nail on the head," and it was like everybody else, and then he was scrutinizing Nautica for not putting enough effort into it, or something like that. Like, oh man, I'm getting flashbacks from college.
The Autobot Academy.
Well, the adventure takes us back to Necro Planet. Remember the one with the Death Bot guy? Anyway, Rodimus and the usual bots are in search for a faint signal, but all is not as it seems. Kilo, do you mind describing what happens to our poor A-Team?
Well, the A-Team, the Rod Pod now has a teleportation device, and they teleport to where the signal is coming from, but they teleport and everything's black around them, pitch black. They can't see anything, and they're like, but we're at the location, but there's nothing here. And so they decide to teleport a little bit further, and they figure out that they were inside the planet of the Necrobot. So it's empty inside. So after teleporting up onto the planet, they get ambushed, and they find that the Necrobot has been put offline. And after Getting inside of the Necrobot's fortress and tracing the signal, we get a message from Getaway. He says that he's been let free by his crew, his new crew, the ones that are mutinying against Rodimus and Megatron because they've become too friendly with Megatron, the one that's killed many Autobots and many other civilians around the universe. And so they're kicking them out of the Lost Light, and Getaway is the new captain.
Yes, and that's not all. When they were fired upon, that was the DJD, and they have until sunset. That
That's
fortress
scary.
can't hold forever.
I was actually surprised to see like the certain bots that committed the mutiny, like Blaster, Mainframe, Riptide.
Yeah,
Like, is Riptide even smart enough to know what a mutiny is? Like, what's
I mean, I think that joke pays off later, but yeah,
I was surprised to see Blaster and Blue Streak.
yeah, right?
I also finally would like to say now you all know why I hate Getaway.
He's a spawn of a glitch, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that's not all. Apparently, there are dozens of innocent life forms in cryostasis. What a dilemma. My favorite part of this is Megatron is the first to volunteer to stay behind and save them, while everyone uses the one itty bitty teleportation device to escape.
I kind of wanted to point out, like in the beginning of the book, when they were fighting those beasts, or what do they call them? The giants.
Rust Giants?
Yeah, the Rush Giants. They had to hide the fact that they were saving organics from Megatron because he didn't want to save organics. It's like, oh, all of a sudden he wants to stay behind and save organics now. Okay.
Yeah, he's building quite the character arc in this series.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Having the DJD put a time frame on you, and having Megatron that knows what they're capable there tell you like, yeah, this is all part of their plans, just get ready, we're all probably gonna go offline. It's a scary feeling. You could see it in the characters and the way that they've been kind of interacting with each other in these final moments that they have.
Yeah, and given the reputation of the DJD.
Yeah, it's like power. I think one of the lines was power
Restraint.
plus, restraint equals control or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Ravage decides to see where their base, the DJG, is set, and poor 10 gets used as bait, as a distraction, because he was trying to help with communicating and he wanted to help in some way. Oh, but the poor 10,
10.
though. He makes a bigger target. But I do like the return of Ratchet and Drift just in time to save both Ravage and 10.
I guess you can say 10 was successful in holding the door.
Oh, door. No! That's essentially what happened here, isn't it?
It's essentially, yeah.
Oh,
the
man.
door.
Let's take a quick ad break to recover from this scenario here. We'll see you in a few.
Let's play Guess That Con.
Every single nanosecond in the universe, a pet goes up for adoption or is left without a home. Over 9,000 of pets were rescued, but for thousands of others, help came too late. Hi, I'm Scorchfire, your friendly neighborhood prime. Would you be better than an angel for a helpless roboid or equinoid? Every day, innocent pets are left out on the street and neglected.
Bork.
Take this poor turbo dog, for example, found wandering the streets of Kaon, digging through trash of a nearby recycling center, alone and afraid. But then, a savior helped this poor guy and gave him a better home. You too can become a savior and help others like him with a simple once-a-month donation of 5 Shannocks to your nearest rescue center.
Won't you be my savior?
What the?
Ruh-roh. I mean, Bork.
Zephyr, why are you a turbo dog?
Hey, I'm just here for the free snacks and scratches, okay?
It's Skyward.
And welcome back. Computron, Kilo, what do you think of Tarn and Megatron's chat?
I really liked it. I like how Tarn is all kind of angry because the person he's been idolizing has just he thinks it's all part of his. It's a new plan that Megatron's doing, kind of infiltrate the Autobots and all that. And Megatron's like adamant that no, I've just given up. I'm not joining them. I changed. I saw the error my way. He's like, no, there's no error, and he just gets angry and ready to kill Megatron on the spot. And I'm like, yep, that's what
You know what
happens
this
with idols.
You know what this reminds me of? This is like what if Darth Vader, when he like turned back to the good side and threw the Emperor over, met Kylo Ren.
Oh,
Mm,
yeah.
This is what it feels like
Yeah.
would happen. But that's not the worst of it. Overlord reappears after gaining
Yeah, it was
some
almost out of
assistance from
random.
drifting.
It
Out
did
of
feel
random, is
random.
it?
It feel
It did.
random.
You gotta make it seem high stakes here. Computron, do you want to talk about Overlord for a minute? I know he's one of your favorite delicious Decepticons from the Phase 6.
So it turned out that Overlord was saved by the Galactic Council and made a deal with the Organics, which is interesting, to kill Megatron. And in this case, he just shows up on the Necro world and out of the blue, was like telling Tarn, like, it's me who gets to kill him, not you. And so those two immediately start fighting like two lions over prey on who gets to eat tonight. And all the while they're fighting, Megatron is hopping on a scooter and he escaped on a scooter.
So funny.
It's
Just
so good.
Megatron on a little scooter.
I like how big he is compared to Little Scooter too.
Yeah.
I want to point out after they notice Megatron's gone, they call a truce, return back to base. Kaon says Ravage and Ten also escape and got incredibly angry and killed him on the spot, wiping his face on Overlord, which is a huge red flag to Deathosaurus. You can kind of see the shock on his face after like Tarn said that he wouldn't kill his own people, and then
Yeah, I think Nickel
becomes a
was flipping
hypocrite.
out too.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think it's also kind of in the moment because he just came out of the fight with Megatron and he was trying to convince Megatron that, yeah, this is a plan and everything like that. And it turns out that it's not. So it's kind of more frustrating.
It's
Yeah.
interesting to see that Kaon was like super attached to his like turbofoxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because like that's the reason why he let Ten and Ravage escape, was because they held one of his turbofoxes as hostage.
Speaking of the Spark Muncher, who would like to tackle on
Spark Muncher.
the secret about that Turbo Fox?
Do you want me to do it?
If you want to.
Okay. So throughout the rest of the comic, we see Chrome Dome is kind of like weakened in a weakened state, and he manages to recuperate enough to try to use some nemosurgery needles on this Turbo Fox to gain information of where the location of the DJD base is, and through gaining access to the memories of the Turbo Fox, he discovers that it's actually Minimus Ambus's brother, who's Agent 113, and that was sent to infiltrate the DJD. But he's been altered and kind of experimented on, kind of like what we saw in the previous More Than Meets the Eye episode with the scavengers, that they found the seller that was selling the robotic animals, and they've all been altered so that they couldn't feel anything, they couldn't speak. The same process happened to Dominus, and so they were keeping him as pets. And meanwhile, Rewind was searching the records of the Necrobot, and through those records, he found out that the Turbo Fox was also Dominus, and so he comes in and he rescues Chrome Dome from trying to revert the process and help Dominus come back to his usual form, because that meant Chrome Dome would have died. But Chrome Dome wanted to do it for Rewind, so Rewind ended up saying that it's not his decision to do, and kind of saved Chrome Dome, and in the process ended up putting offline Dominus.
Yeah, and we get a similar full circle of events, like both Rewinds ended up getting Chrome Dome's arm removed.
Which
Yeah.
I kind of want to point out that, unless, this is also the same time that Ratchet kind of showed up, but like 3-4 pages later, you see Chrome Dome with his arm back like it didn't even happen. And I'm like, oh, Okay.
Yeah, that was a
Anything
quick.
can happen through the magic of editing.
I also like that they recreated the same panel from when Chrome Dome lost Rewind with Overlord when he shot
Yes.
the pod and
Oh,
he's
yeah.
laying on the floor. They recreated, but this time Rewind is hugging Chrome Dome, and I thought it was
Yeah.
very sweet.
Brings it full circle.
Yeah.
Moving us along, Velocity gets a great idea to power everyone up for a fight of their lives, using skids as a spark spasm which would temporarily give everyone a boost and eventually may kill skids. Any thoughts? Favorite scenes during the fight after they power up? Like, I enjoy Tailgate getting a grunt to ask him what he used to do for a living, and he says the same thing at waste disposal, punching him.
That was hilarious.
I do like Ultra Maximus.
Ultra Maximus, yeah.
Him a big boy.
Yes.
He's
That's a
thick.
beautiful armor. That's a
Yeah,
beautiful
yeah.
armor. I need to get
I
that
actually
toy.
looked for the Ultra Maximus toy like right after I finished
Oh,
reading
the
this
Iron
one.
Factory one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
I kind of want to point out something that was interesting to me. Maybe it was kind of just ignored. I think it was during one of the fight scenes, you see kind of Cyclonus in his spaceship flying around, and you see Overlord swatting him out of the sky and just like punching him into the dirt. Like it almost looked like he snapped Cyclonus in half. But it was just after that, that's like the last thing you see any reference to about this fight. I'm like, okay. I guess Cyclonus died, maybe?
Maybe. Or he just gets really messed up, right?
Yeah, like it almost looked like Overlord just like karate chopped him out of the sky and just cut him in half.
Zero
or something.
effort. Zero
Yeah.
effort from Overlord's point. Yeah. We also
Yeah.
discover Megatron's full energon is a placebo the whole time. Dun dun dun.
All fake news.
Fake news. Ravage gets ripped in half by Tarn. Wait, I feel like we've seen this before in the Bay film. Anyway, my favorite scene is when Megatron first walks onto the battlefield with his fusion cannon. Like, it's like chills.
You need two? Oh, I'm sorry. One thing I forgot to mention is when Hot Rod got the flame on scene where he goes and bursts into fire.
Yeah.
If you look at his symbol on his chest is also on fire. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. I think that's supposed to be a reference to his original toy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So back to the fusion cannon.
The Tarn v Megatron fight that we have all been waiting for finally gets to be paid off.
Such a good fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't last long, his fusion cannon gets shot off real fast. And then he ends up using Trail Cutter's panic bubble.
Bubble.
Bidoo. Yeah. Yeah, and then this is the point where Deathsaurus decides that he does not want to be a part of this anymore. And Overlord says, like, he's pathetic. I don't need it anymore. And they both leave. And then it's just the DJD and Megatron, as the rest of the Lost Light crew have fled into the fortress.
I wonder where Overlord went.
Even Nico.
Yeah, even Nickel left.
Nickel left him. Are we gonna see Overlord again?
Never know. You never know.
Overlord never dies, my guy.
No. But
He's
yeah,
like a cockroach.
Favorite scenes of when Megatron unleashes the power of a black hole onto the DJG.
Oh, the antimatter. Yeah.
it looks cool. I was so confused on how the science works. Because we have Ravage explaining everybody of the Lost Light, like, hey, Megatron's been planning this. He took one of the suitcases. He's been trying to get an anchor to a black hole, and all that. I'm like, my science is not working right now, but it looks cool.
I like how Whirl finds his arm.
Yes.
He's like, oh,
In a
hey,
cabinet.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So good.
So cool.
But in the most shocking twist is that disappeared from the what was it, the Deathbots list of disappearance of those he couldn't find, walks out of the cryo freeze, including Roller, yeah, and Terminus, Megatron's old mentor from the mine.
That was cool seeing that, because I also liked how when Megatron was fighting Tarn, he said we will both die as Decepticons, and he puts Tarn's mask on his chest over the Autobot badge. But he manages to get rescued, and when he sees Terminus, he kind of hugs him. He's like, "Oh, my old friend!" And the mask falls again. So he's still having that conflict within himself. That was pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Interesting, because like when he was seeing Ravage on Ravage's deathbed, Ravage put his paw on the Decepticon badge and said, "Don't ever turn back or change." And then right afterwards, he goes and hugs Terminus, ditches the badge. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think Ravage was finally also coming to the terms of accepting Autobot Megatron and was trying to claw away the Decepticon badge.
Yeah.
Okay,
So it was like
that makes
both
sense.
that and Terminus kind of brings him back to himself. Anyway, does anyone want to explain what Nightbeat and Rung discovered underground? Because while all of these events were happening, those two left early to go on an adventure.
Yeah. So essentially, Nightbeat and Rung went in to discover why the planet itself was hollow. And I also kind of want to put a pin in this for later as well, because Rung talks about how he noticed he's seen like this kind of place before when he said he was being spawned from the pools, the pious pools, when he was born. But it turns out that the inside of that planet is, I believe, what made. Correct me if I'm wrong. It's what made Cybertron.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that's what
It
they said.
forged it. Yeah, it was like the shell that like popped out Cybertron.
Yeah, it was like a birth planet, I guess you would call it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kilo, do you have any theories on that?
I don't know like the continuity in here, but I'm thinking this could have been, instead of Cybertron, it could have been the origin of Unicron. I've seen other continuities in the cartoons, especially in Armada, where they're both Cybertron and Unicron were planets, but then they were the Cybertron was Primus, and then Unicron was his brother and his opposite. So I feel like this one, instead of being Cybertron, it could be Unicron, and then Unicron is kind of like the twin to the planet of Cybertron. Is just he just has evil intents.
Very interesting.
I
theory.
do want to put a major emphasis that they're emphasizing that Rung is way older than we take him as.
Possibly. Yes.
Possibly.
So my last note is about the last issue, which is more like a past visiting in the past kind of thing. We get Getaway going through a window to view past events of the Lost Light going through a window of past events. I don't know how else to explain that, but does anything in here stand out to you? It's like a weird inception. It's like a dream within a dream. It's like a vision within a vision.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of like a call, kind of like an epilogue of all the good things or all the bad things as well that have happened throughout to this ship, and how
Yes.
it's changed throughout the years or the time it's traveled. I guess because I don't know how long these events take. I don't know if it just takes 1 year or multiple, but
Yeah, I was kind of confused within the change within the change kind of thing, but I mean, like one of the things that kind of confused me a little bit was, as I was reading it, was there was the scene where they're all kind of standing clumped together as their ghosts or silhouettes, is what you would call it.
It's more like a hologram,
Okay.
right? Because Getaway was watching a hologram of the Lost Light, watching a hologram of past events.
Yeah. Okay. That.
it's kind of weird.
The longer we stay here, the more confused we're going to get. I would like to point out one thing I forgot to mention earlier. When the Lost Light first gets stranded on the Necro planet, the pin that I want to notice, because when Optimus says there's no response, they're not responding. Those are two different things. Megatron's trying to tell Rodimus to call the Lost Light, and Rodimus is like, there's no response, they're not responding. And Megatron says the same thing Optimus says. Those are two different things. And I just thought that was very interesting.
Because kind of shows you how much Megs and Optimus have in common.
Yeah. Is there any other notes or anything else we want to talk about?
One thing I wanted to highlight was when Ravage died, we have a brief glimpse of Soundwave, getting what almost feels like his heart torn out because he could feel that Ravage had passed, which makes the scene even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna talk about the same scene, but it was like it's a sad scene, but I feel like Ravage has come back from getting his head cut off, so he could have come back. I just feel like they killed him just to make it more sad when he could have probably survived.
Yeah, but this is high stakes, high tense moment.
Well, Chrome Dome got his
Before-
arm fixed in the next panel.
I think we're approaching the part of the phase where dead means dead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
it definitely
no.
does.
But like we've seen so many bots suffer, I feel like worse, and they just come back. So it's just kind of, I feel like when you told me about like Ravage suffered a big death, I felt like it was gonna be more torturous as the DJD, because especially at the beginning when we see him gonna go scouting by himself, I'm like, okay, he's gonna get captured. It's gonna be the worst thing possible for him because they're gonna do all sort of things, but then he just gets ripped off, and I'm like, I feel like. We've seen so many ripped offs before and they just come back, or we've seen worse things and they just come back. It's just kind of, I feel like it's supposed to be strong, but for me it wasn't too strong. It was like, okay, he's gone, but it doesn't feel as
It's
strong as it should be.
disingenuous because it feels like they could revive him.
Right, because I think
Yeah.
last time we saw that Ravage supposedly died, RC was chopping their head off.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just
to
the
be
continuity of the wounds on the Transformers. Sometimes like they get cut off in half and they're like gone, and sometimes they don't. So it's just kind of weird.
No, and they do explain that. Like, different bots are built differently. So it's possible that their brain module or spark casing was, like, located in their middle. Because just because they're in beast mode doesn't mean their brain is where a beast would be, if that makes sense. So maybe being ripped in half dealt more damage than having their head cut off. And I think Ratchet said earlier, Ratchet or First Aid says, like, that's why certain bots can survive certain decapitations, stabbings, and other scenarios like that. And then some other bots can't survive these things because their internal mechanical organs are in different locations, if that makes sense, because their alt modes, they all transform differently.
Yeah.
So maybe that explains it.
Before we wrap this up, I kind of felt like we should have gotten a sadder ending for Skids' death because it just seems like it happened way too fast.
Yeah, that one was more.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he died. It just happened. There you go. It's like,
He died from trauma.
Yeah.
But who knows what if Skids, erased his own memory? Who knows what he saw and did
Yeah, there
that
could
he
be
wanted
more.
to forget it?
Yeah.
All right, are we ready for ratings?
Yeah.
I'm ready.
All right. So for out of getaway stars, how many getaway stars would you give it?
I'm not answering that question.
Kilobyte.
You have to. It's part of the rating, but I'll give it 5 out of 5 getaway stars.
Good bot. Good bot.
I had a blast.
Did you hit
They
him
gave
with
me
the nudge
everything.
gun, huh? Did you hit him with the nudge gun?
Look, don't look underneath the table right now, but there might be a gun pointed at you.
This was one of my favorites. Is the last? I think this is the last issue of More Than Meets the Eye. If I'm correct, right?
Yep.
They ended it pretty darn well, and I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5 as well.
You hear that first. He's giving it 5 getaway stars out of 5.
No, I don't. I'm not saying that, man.
I will give it a 4.5. It's a strong 4.5
Yeah.
from me because like everything's perfect except for like we were saying, a few of the deaths felt a little cheap, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the confrontation with the DJD and Megatron, and it's pretty good. Pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. But listeners, be sure to leave a comment below of how many getaway stars you would leave this comic. All right. So we do have some emails to read, although I'm going to keep these ones a secret because they're for a specific upcoming D&D one-shot with another voice actor. So if you enjoyed the one with Starscream, be prepared for another one coming your way. But if you would like to get in contact with us, you can send us an email at swervesbarpodcast@gmail.com. That's SWEVESBAR podcast@gmail.com.
Almost there. Almost there.
Almost there.
Almost.
Toys. Are there any new toys that you guys want to talk about? I recently got a Galaxy Man Shockwave Generations toy line, and I am enjoying it. Not super stoked with it being called Galaxy Man, but I really like the toy.
I myself, through Swindle, managed to get a Generation Swerve with Flanker.
Nice.
And I'm very happy. It looks like Swerve, and it matches with my tailgate. So they're perfect for each other.
I got me a couple of wreckers. First things first, I got me a really cool looking Roadbuster that came with at least like 6 guns. And posing him
Only
was
6 guns.
Posing him with all those guns actually turned out harder than I can imagine.
He's only got 2 hands.
He's only got 2 hands. The last was I got I didn't even unbox it yet, but I got a War for Cybertron cup.
Nice.
I'm looking at the box. I'm not sure if it's a War for Cybertron, but yeah, I got me a cup, and I'm closely and working hard. And I'm not really working hard. I'm thanking these guys for helping me get it, but it was actually a gift from these 2 guys, and I'm working towards my collection of wreckers.
Noise.
Yeah, we got to get all those records. Wreck and rule.
Are you ready for The Transformers, the Volume 10, the finale to everything of Phase 2?
I'm ready.
Yes.
Fantastic. Kilo, do you want to talk about your speech?
But yeah, my speech, my normal speech. Yeah. I've been streaming on the Earth platform called twitch.tv. You can find me there at twitch.tv/kilobyte prime, where I stream video games and just hang out with all of you viewers and listeners. And we have a blast. We've been playing some Fall Guys, trying to get Onyx that Mecha Godzilla skin. He really wants it. So it's been some fun times. I usually stream at 8 p.m. On Tuesdays and Thursdays Pacific Standard Time, because that's when the signal from Cybertron reaches Earth. And again, if you want to stop by, say hello, and give me a follow, you can do that at twitch.tv/kilobyte prime.
Fantastic. Computron, do you mind taking us out?
Yeah. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing it with your friends and subscribing. If you want to help out the show even further, we have started a Patreon. All of the proceeds will go to supporting the show and keeping the lights on. Of course, we have some tiers that offer some other forms of gratitude, such as 3D files and an entry to our Discord channel. When Season 3 releases, you'll even get early access to our comic review videos a week before they're publicly released. And as always, we hope you're staying safe out there. Thank you so much for listening to All Are One.
All are one.
All are one.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Swerve's Bar Podcast. You can also find us on Twitter at Swerve's Bar. If you are interested in more content, try checking out the spin-off D&D series, Transform Rollout. The first season, Rise of the World Killers, is completely out now. Let us tune in for a preview now.
Clearly, I misunderstood the assignment and made a whole damn speech there. Sorry about that, guys.
No,
You're good.
I loved every little bit of it.
Starscream's
It
got
It was
a lot
amazing.
of
I loved it. It was like a total
Mm.
Starscream monologue moment.
No,
We
it
got
was
to
so
see
much
it
better
inside
than
his mind.
everything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was so good.
You're already showing us up.
Yeah, that's
No, that's
staying in.
staying.
That's staying in.
Yeah.
Are you sure we can trust them?
Are you talking to me? Yes, you can trust me, absolutely. Great, a Titan Master without a Titan. How wonderful.
Ouch.
Hey, he's fantastic.
Man, I come from trying to collect a bounty to a roast session. Okay.
I've got some NDAs for you all to sign before we embark on this quest, if you will. You all just put your mark right here. Everybody roll to sign.
No.
No.
No,
Got
sorry.
it.
What kind of role is that?
Is that a free action? Oh, Mantix is dead. Ah, well.
This took a surprising turn.
The fight started.
I don't know if this is a fight, man. This sounds like a therapy session.
I don't know.
This is a
but-
word.
Fascinating. There's also a YouTube channel with bonus content with a link provided below. And if you are so inclined, you can support us on Patreon, where you can get even more bonus content, such as several 3D files and access to their Discord. Links will be provided below. And transmission